The ambassador is completely useless. Ever since I started playing this game, I've had a love-hate relationship with the ambassador. On one hand, the weapon was pretty good and it felt good to do well with. The only problem being that I was, and still am, not that good. So while I knew this thing could be good in the right hands, the problem was my hands shake like I have severe Parkinson's disease every single time I try and line up a shot. The point is that I really used to like this weapon, and for the most part I think the design is interesting. But that's before they turned into a hunk of junk that no one with a brain would ever try and do actual damage with. But before we get into why exactly this weapon is the world's least deadly paperweight, let's talk about the weapon and when it was, not that. Let's take a quick weapon history lesson. The ambassador is a secondary unlockable weapon for Spy. The weapon was added all the way back in 2009 with the Sniper vs Spy update. The update had many new additions, however the one that we're going to be focused on today is the ambassador. Now originally, as many are unaware, the ambassador actually only did mini crits on headshot, and without going into too much detail on the weapon at the time, needless to say it was pretty bad. I guess the more things change, the more they say the same, huh? However, 5 days after the gun's addition, on May 26, 2009, the ambassador was now allowed to do full critical hits on headshot. Now this was actually really broken because unlike the ambassador today, it didn't have a cooldown time. So basically you could take your French butt, plop it right in front of a heavy, and unload 3 shots into him before you kicked the bucket. It was downright broken, and later the actual cooldown was added onto the weapon for critical hits. However, besides that addition, it remained basically the same for ages. However, that is all before the fateful day where the ambassador we know and hate today started to come onto the horizon. You see, the Team Fortress 2 development team had an idea. They were going to put out a new update with a bunch of balance changes, except for this time the community was going to get their say on the matter. On June 20th, 2017, the team released a blog post of potential changes. Among these list of notes was the actual change to the ambassador. Here it was first proposed that the ambassador was too good at shooting people from across the map like Sniper, so they wanted to reduce its effective range. I'll get back to why that's dumb in a minute, but for right now let's take the actual change that was proposed. The team suggested changing the ambassador to have a random first shot accuracy, and needless to say, that is a horrible idea. With that change, players could either hit shots that they were supposed to miss or miss shots that they were supposed to hit. The entire thing would be a mess, so the community gave feedback that this wasn't a good idea, and that brings us to the ambassador of today. Instead of making the proposed change, the team with the feedback of the community decided, you know what, instead of making it randomly good or bad, let's just make it bad constantly. And thus in the Jungle Inferno update of October 2020, they gave us the final change. The patch notes reading: players that are headshot from across the map are often expecting to see a sniper in their death cam, but they sometimes see, more often than we like, a spy with a revolver. Changes: headshot damage is now subject to distance fall-off effects. Headshots beyond 12,000 world units do normal non-critical damage. This change, needless to say, was huge. I mean, they've basically gutted the ambassador. This brings us to current day, 3 years later, where the gun is still hot garbage. Why, you may ask? Well, it's simple. The ambassador's job is done literally better by every single revolver except for the L'Étranger, which mind you isn't really a weapon even meant to deal damage, but more of a utility. So basically every single one of Spy's damage-oriented revolvers are better at being the ambassador than the ambassador. How exactly, you may be asking? Well, I was getting to that. First, let's go over the actual use cases of the ambassador before the patch. The first of these was to easily kill a sniper with a Razorback, that being the item that blocks one backstab from a spy. The ambassador is good for this because it can kill a sniper in just 2 shots, one to the head and the other to the body, which that's great. The only problem with that being that there's another weapon that can kill a Razorback in just 2 shots, that being the Enforcer. And the best part about that gun is you don't even have to hit a headshot, you can just do 2 body shots due to the increased damage from a disguise. So why on earth would you ever use the ambassador? Maybe you want to use it because you think it'll do good damage. Maybe the burst damage might come in handy whenever you're getting chased down by a pyro. But you know what else kills people with less effort and faster? The stock revolver. Best part is about the stock revolver, you don't even have to aim for the head. So in case you're not a Prem tier spy, you can actually kill somebody with it in a somewhat reasonable time. There's an entire video out there specifying exactly why the stock revolver does more damage than the ambassador in virtually every single scenario. It's a great video done by Woolen Sleevelet, and I suggest you check it out. The link will be in the description below. But the point is, the weapon doesn't kill very well. It doesn't kill better than the stock revolver, so what's the point of ever using it? So again, I must ask you, why on earth would you ever use the ambassador? Okay, maybe let's say you want to use it at range. Maybe you're dealing with people at a large distance. Wait, it doesn't crit anymore at a large distance, so what's the point in doing that? Actually, due to the damage penalty, you're going to be doing less damage on the stock revolver at long distances. So the one actual use case for this revolver, killing people at long distances, is now gone, because it was too much like Sniper, which I haven't even gotten into how little sense that actually makes. Because no one was choosing Spy to do Sniper's job, the entire reason they nerfed the weapon, it means nothing. Because apparently Spy can't deal that much damage for that far away. In fact, keeping in mind mind that Medic can do 75 damage at long range and Devilman can do 100 damage at long range, but I guess we're gonna ignore that because 102 damage is just so much more. Because as we all know, it is far too easy to hit somebody across the map on the head without a scope. Clearly that was too much power for one man to have. So again, this weapon has no use case. All of this absolutely sucks because the weapon is actually super fun. Nothing's more satisfying than hitting a 102 on some sad sap who will overestimate how far MGE would get him. And even though it feels really good to use this weapon, you're actually going to be doing worse than you will with any other revolver. And again, it really didn't need to be nerfed either. I mean, think of how many loadouts actually do other classes' jobs. You wouldn't nerf Battle Engineer because it's a more aggressive scout-like style of play because no one chooses Engineer to play Scout's job. So why is this any different for Sniper and Spy? Literally no one says, yeah, Sniper will be really good to kill this guy across the map in one shot with the scope, but instead I'm going to choose to do 102 damage from across the map for no other reason. Because apparently I'm choosing Spy to do Sniper's job. That scenario would never happen, you'd obviously just pick Sniper. Honestly, it's just really sad. There's a whole skill of Spy that has been completely removed from the game basically because it was nerfed from the ground. The entire concept of the Ambassador is made irrelevant by its stats and it has no real use case scenario. It's like the Babyface's blaster in that way. Sure, it's cool and it's a lot of fun to use, but you're not going to actually be going anywhere when you equip it. I suppose the Ambassador could be decent if you were an invite level Spy, however for the other 99% of players it's pretty much useless, which if you ask me is actually a pretty bad weapon design. The Ambassador was a really fun, skill-based weapon and now you're just shooting yourself in the foot by equipping it. The state they've left the Ambassador in is a sad one, with no actual use cases or scenarios where it actually performs better than other weapons. And with such a high skill floor for a weapon that's really useless at the end of the day, you'd have to ask why you'd ever use it. You will rarely ever see the Ambassador equipped by a Spy who's actually trying to get something done because all it does is actually hinder you at the end of the day. Why would you want the off chance to land a headshot when you could have a more consistent, higher damage dealer? It just doesn't make any sense. The Ambassador is useless and complete hot garbage. I can think of over 1,000 different bodily harms I would rather commit on myself right now than try and use the Ambassador competitively. But for now, all we can do is hope that Valve actually comes out with an update to fix this broken, sad weapon. Until then, the Ambassador is useless. Hi, thank you for watching through my whole video. I'm really new to TF2 content creation, so I really do appreciate you making it to the end of this video. If you like what you saw and would like to see more TF2 content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with your feedback down below. Again, I'm just starting out with Team Fortress 2 content, and this may actually be my last Team Fortress 2 video. However, I really wanted to try and make something for a game that I've liked for a long time. Anyways, that's about it. It's been Frozen Ham, and I am out.